Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Sales psychology, evergreen funnels, live launching. Those are the three topics that we go into in today's episode with my turquoise talk guest, Nicki Krawczyk. I am so excited about this episode because it is a fresh perspective that you probably have not heard around those three things. And so let me tell you a little bit about Nicki before we dive in. So she is the visionary CEO and founder of Nicki K Media. She loves to challenge the conventional norms, which we definitely do on this podcast episode, of live launching and traditional evergreen strategies. Her proven methodologies provide course creators with a predictable path to success, freeing them from the stress and limitations of outdated approaches. She also owns Filthy Rich Writer and Fired Up Freelance for copywriters and freelancers. She's the host of Build Your Copywriting Business and Energize Your Online Business podcast. She is so fun to interview and really just helps us to see that when we have a solution to someone's problem, why make them wait? So if you're ready, grab pen and paper or plop those earbuds in, and let's do this. Well, welcome back, friends. I'm so excited to introduce you to today's Turquoise Talk guest, Nicki Krawczyk. Did I say it right?
You did. You're good.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today and speak to all of the mompreneurs.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. So I'm just getting to know you as well. So tell those of us who are just kind of being introduced to you a little bit about you, your family, and how you really got into entrepreneurship.
Yes, absolutely. So my background is in copywriting. So marketing and advertising writing. I've been a copywriter for more than 20 years. And years ago, probably about 12 years, I'm looking as if I can see the date being the year. 12 years ago, I created a course to help people become professional copywriters. Okay. And brand new business owner, I was like, oh, create a course. And then people would just buy it. Yay. Which of course is not at all how it works. I discovered, surprise, right. Business is a challenge. And so spent a good couple of years kind of going back and forth, trying all the things, trying live launching, making a membership, do this, do that, all those kinds of things until about 2018, when I thought, all right, let's take a step back, Nick. Mm-hmm. Take a moment. What do you know? And what do you want your business to look like? And I thought, all right, instead of doing all the things, everything people tell me to do, I thought, all right, I know messaging like nobody's business. And I know customer psychology, but I also know what I don't want. I don't want to rely on live launching because it is chaotic, it's stressful, it's unpredictable, and it's also not good for our audiences. It doesn't help them, which we can talk more about in a bit. But so what I did was I developed a system to sell my course automatically, daily on autopilot. And in 2018, I made $40,000 with that course, which was the most I had made thus far. I was very proud of myself. But in 2019, I made $268,000. And then in 2020, I made $1.6 million. And then from there, we have just increased. And that system, we now call the circuit sales system. I also now teach other course creators, other program creators, even one-on-one service providers, how to do the same thing for their programs. So that's kind of my business in a nutshell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that you said that you sat back and thought about what do you really want, right? And what kind of business do you want to build? Because as entrepreneurs, like there are endless opportunities and ways to do business. And it does get overwhelming, especially for someone who's just getting started to build a business. And I do think there's so many more people. I think entrepreneurship is just like having baby after baby after baby. I mean, people are exiting corporate and learning to do their own thing and take their own skill sets and bringing into entrepreneurship. But there's so many opportunities out there. So I love that you said you really took the time to slow down and figure out, like, what is it that I want? Like, what do I want my business to look like? And how am I going to get there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think too that so many of us got into business for more freedom, right? I'm not a mom. I'm a very proud auntie. In It Takes a Village. I am that village and happy to be that village.
Yes.
You need me to pick up the girls? Give me a call. I got it. But we went into business for more freedom, and most of us end up creating a really stressful desk job.
Yeah.
A desk job and a limiting desk job. And on top of that, a desk job that makes us feel guilty because we have to be in here working when our kids are knocking. Okay, not my kids, but when kids are knocking at the door and going, "Hey, mom, we started out with this dream, but by following all of these, quite frankly, a lot of them are bad pieces of advice because digital marketing is an echo chamber.
Yeah.
We ended up creating something that we really don't like. And I know that right now there are a lot of business owners or even people who are just kind of getting started with it who are going, wait a minute, this is not at all what I thought it would be. And I know a lot of business owners who are at the precipice of going, all right, maybe I should just go back and get a job again.
Yeah. Yeah. And for someone who's feeling that way, like, what would be your piece of advice to them? Like, they got into entrepreneurship, they felt really great about it, and now they're just feeling burnout, or they're just like, you know what? Because honestly, there are days where it just feels easier just to go punch a clock.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, I could just punch in and punch out. My brain can shut off when I leave. As an entrepreneur, your brain is always running and always thinking about the next idea, the next client. How can you, create better experiences for your clients? So it's just ongoing. And so for someone who is kind of on that other end and they're like, you know what? I'm just going to be done and go back to corporate. Not that corporate is bad. We're not saying corporate is bad, but if you want the freedom and flexibility, that's a little bit better avenue to get that. So what would you say to someone who is kind of what you described?
Yeah, I think the first thing to know is that everybody has that fantasy. I mean, I know some really, really successful women, and they have that fantasy too. My personal is to go work in not own the bread shop, but go work in a bread shop where all I have to do is say, do you want it sliced or not? I used to live next door to a bread shop, and I'd be like, wow, that looks so nice.
It's so true.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, not that working at a bread shop could support my lifestyle, but it's not, it's a fantasy anyway. Right.
Right.
I think the first thing to know is that if you're thinking this, and if you have that fantasy, or maybe considering making a reality, you are absolutely not alone. It does not mean that you're not meant to be in business. What it means is that business is sometimes hard. And I think that's something that we all need to be talking about a lot more often too. Yeah. Because a lot of us got into business because someone promised us that, hey, you can do this and get started and you can sell this and you can, lifestyle entrepreneur, you can make, and I don't fault that, because you have to start with that hope if you're going to get into it. Right. But I think that's something that we all need to talk about, is the fact that there are times that business is really hard, and there are times that it's really great, but there are times that it's really hard. I mean, people will say that there are two things in life that will make you grow as a person in exponential ways. And those two things, mompreneurs, are having a child and starting a business. So if you look at your business and you go, oh my gosh, I love you so much, but sometimes I just want you to disappear for a little while, like you do with your kids, whom you also adore. Yeah. It's not just you. It doesn't mean that you're not meant to be in business. Number one, you might be having a hard day, or number two, you might have to reevaluate how you're doing things. And that is perfectly, perfectly fine. It should be an exercise that all of us go through at least once a quarter, every 3 months, to sit down and go, okay, what's working and what's not working, and to truly do that objectively, because it's so easy to get emotion into and going, well, this is not working. I only 20 people attended this live event, and only one person bought. And actually, really, if one person bought out of 20, that's a really good conversion rate. That's a win. Right. So it's looking at what's working and what isn't working in your business, and feeling the emotion, certainly, but then taking the emotions out of it and really looking at what's working factually,
Yeah.
okay, well, my
Yeah.
cost per lead, if you're running ads or something like that, my cost per lead doesn't work. But then also looking at what works for your lifestyle and
Mhm.
what doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are, and what works for your audience and
Mhm.
what doesn't work for them. Does the way that you sell to them welcome them to come to you, or does it create unnecessary barriers?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what happens a lot of times is we fall into that all or nothing thinking, and it's like everything is working or nothing is working. And there's no middle road there. And so until you slow down and you do some of that evaluation, like you're saying, it's really easy for you to get into the emotion of it and feel like, oh, well, no one's buying, no one's interested, or everyone's interested. And it's probably not true either. It's probably somewhere in the middle. There are some things that are working really well, and there's some things that just need to stop doing. And there are other things that just need a little tweak, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important to have community, because in those moments when you're feeling like throwing in the towel, that's when your business bestie can come alongside you, or your coach or your mentor or your community can come alongside and say, you're normal. Like I felt that before, I've been there, and this is how I got out. Because only people who have felt that and been in that situation can really help you and understand everything that you're feeling, right? And are able to kind of like jump in the well with you and be like, okay, this is how we're going to get out.
Exactly. Nobody should be going this alone. It's too much to try to do alone.
Yeah. So I know you talk a lot about sales psychology. Can you talk a little bit, first of all, just what is it for those that are listening? And then like, how can you use that to elevate business? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So really fundamentally, sales psychology is working with the way human beings normally work versus working against it, or the way that we hope the ideal person is going to operate, right? Like the ideal person signs up for a live event and then attends that live event. But in real life, what happens much more often is that people sign up for things and then they don't attend, or they sign up and say, I want to watch this, and then they don't watch. It's working with the real human beings versus the ideal human beings. And obviously we're human, basically treating ourselves like human. So, just a very, very simple example of this is that when people think about live launching, they know, I don't like live launching. It's, they think, all right, I'm going to go evergreen. And one of the ways to do evergreen, they're kind of two ways, and neither of them really work all that well, but we'll talk more about that. But one of the ways is they say, okay, I get it. I don't want to limit people in the way that they have to purchase my program. I get it, Nicki, totally on board with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up on my website, and I'm going to let people buy it at any time, because people have said, oh my gosh, I just want to buy your course. That's what people say. They'll write in and say, oh my gosh, when can I, and can I buy your course? I'd love to buy your course. And you give them the link, and then crickets. Because the way that human beings really work is that we don't purchase things unless we have a deadline. We don't make decisions unless we have some kind of deadline that requires us to do it. So many people go, all right, I get it. Yes, I'm going to put it up, and it doesn't work. I mean, yes, you will see a few sales here and there trickle in, but working with customer, and again, it's a very simple example, but working with customer psychology means that we know that yes, people will say, oh yes, I'm ready to purchase right now. But when they actually have the opportunity, they don't, unless you give them a deadline to do it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, dive in a little bit deeper into like the live launch, the evergreen webinars and things like that. First of all, could you just like explain what both of those are for the people, someone who's listening? I've done both. I have opinions about both too, but I'm just interested in your perspective on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the live launching, the concept is you have something to offer. Let's just call it a course for the sake of the conversation. You have a course, and say a week, once every 3 months, or maybe once every 6 months, you say to everybody in the world on your email list and social, you say, hey, this is available. Come and get it. You've got a week. Come. I'm doing these live events. Come onto my live events. Maybe you're doing live challenges. But you are present, you are live, and it is only available for 1 week every 6 months or whatever. And it is live, it is on your schedule. And the problems with this are so many, so many. Number one, when you pick a week, it's like playing roulette with your business.
Yeah.
It's like walking into a casino and going, "Oh, that number." It's when picking a random week out of the year, you are gambling your revenue for, let's say if you launch twice a year, you're gambling your revenue for 6 months on that launch working. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe there will be issues going on in the world that take attention away from that. I know a lot of business owners in 2020 who really had to deal with that because there were just bigger things going on.
Right.
Or there may be things going on with you. I was talking to a student who said, no, I really understood that I needed to get done with live launching. She said, when I had a launch that I had to do, I had to be alive, I had to be on doing these calls because it was 6 months of my revenue. She said, but my entire family got the flu. She said, not only was I sick, but my children were in another room, and not to be too graphic, but my children were sick and throwing up in another room. I couldn't be with them because I had to be online and for the live launch. On top of that, too, that they're unpredictable. I mean, Martina, I know you know other business owners who have a really great launch, like really good. Like it's the messaging is dialed in, the audience, it hit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, I've got it. I know how to do it now. And then they do it again 3 months or 6 months later. Same thing, same messaging, same audience, same ads, and it tanks.
Yeah.
It is fundamentally unpredictable. And it's also, by the way, we are the only industry that does it like this. The only one. It's not like Apple launches a watch and they're like, you've got a week to get it. And if you come back after this week, forget it. We'll see you in 6 months. Like there's no other industry that does that. And it's got to be a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also exhausting. It's also exhausting. I mean, I did, I think for a whole year, I did 4 live launches. And I tell the girl that helped me in the launch she has also different opinions now about live launching, but I told her, like, I feel like I have PTSD just a little bit. Like, I don't know that I ever want to go through a live launch again. Just because even though I had the support, it was just, I don't know. It just wasn't the pace for me, I guess, but I committed to it and I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it 4 times and just see, because I know one can be really great, like you said, and one can just tank. So now that I've done that, like I haven't done it again, and I'm not saying I won't ever, but I love hearing your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it is. It's mentally and emotionally and physically draining. I know so many business owners who launch for a week and then just the entire rest, like sleep for a week, basically.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but if you have an entire week to launch and then an entire week just to sleep, then your business looks very different from mine. But here's the things too, to go back to customer psychology, and we'll get onto evergreen in a second, but to go back to customer psychology, when people first start following us, on social media, and especially when they first opt in for our email list, they are at the peak of excitement and motivation, right? We are fresh to them and they are most excited for the solution that we offer them. Like they are there. But the problem with motivation, with excitement, they're chemical states. They naturally dwindle.
Yeah.
They wane.
Yeah.
So from that moment, it's never going to be as high as in that moment. So what happens with people who live launch is people get on their list and like, yes, I'm interested. We're like, super, I'm so excited. Here's an ebook. And they're like, okay, great. Thanks for that ebook. But actually now I'd really like to know about your solution. And you're like, yes, absolutely. Come back in 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah.
Some do, but what we do is that during that 3 months, all of that interest and excitement, it's trickling away. We're draining it. And what happens too is that when we meet someone who is at that moment of like, oh my gosh, yes, I have hope again. I want that solution. And when we meet them by saying, yes, great, I have that solution, but I'm not going to offer it to you for 3 months or for 6 months, they don't sit and go, oh, great, I'm going to wait for 90 days. I'm going to wait for 180 days. They hop on Google, they find your competitors, and they buy from your competitors.
Yeah. Such a good perspective. Good point. Yeah, it's kind of like why they keep you at the car dealership all day until you say yes.
Yes.
Because you're so excited at that moment. You just test drove the car. You've been through all the, like you just got really excited about it. And they're like, I'm going to keep you here until you say yes.
Well, exactly. I mean, imagine you went in to buy a car and you're like, all right, I'm interested. And they were like, great, take a look at the cars. You can get really close. Don't get too close. Look to the cars.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to sit down here. I'm going to talk to you about the cars. In fact, I'm going to keep talking to you the cars. I'm going to ask you to come back every day and I'm going to talk to you about the cars, but you can't actually go anywhere near the cars, much less purchase one for 3 months.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It
doesn't. None.
Yeah.
But that's what we've all been taught to do when it comes to live launching. And I know that some people are like, but like the big names, they live launch and they do so well. And yes, they absolutely do. And we don't need to name names, but and believe me, they are fantastic. They are brilliant. I've taken a lot of their programs and they have fantastic programs. But here's the thing. They can do this because they are the big names.
Right. Yeah.
People will wait 6 months, maybe even sometimes a year to buy from the big name. If you are not one of those big names, you don't have that same luxury. Yeah. Quite frankly, you just don't.
Yeah.
You are competing with however many other people are in your space. And also too, by the way, when someone has been to your website and they're starting to look, maybe they followed you on social media, all those algorithms are like, oh, that's what this person is interested in. And then they start feeding this person who went to your website, who signed up, they start feeding them ads from all of your competitors, which makes it even easier for them if they can't get a solution from you to go get it from one of your competitors.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the best strategy then? Because it is, you hear about live launching and you hear about the evergreen webinars. So in your expertise, what is the better route for entrepreneurs? Hey friend, can I give you permission today? For real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise, mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify what are the 3 main issues that are keeping you stuck. Number 2, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number 3, identifying what are your next steps. We all have a next step and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call.
It's in between. Because we talked about you can't have the evergreen on your site without a deadline. And then people are like, great, then I'm going to sign up. I'm going to create an evergreen webinar and I'm going to have people opt in. They're going to watch the webinar and then they're going to purchase. Well, there are 2 problems with that. Number 1, most of these webinars are structured wrong. We've been told to teach. And then when you teach, people will purchase. And that's not how, again, back to psychology, learning is a fundamentally energy draining experience. We can get more into that if you want to, but you'll let me know. But then after that doesn't work, we do drop them on their list and then they languish on your list until you go, oh, okay, gosh, I have to do a live launch again. So the live launch is exciting, but it's stressful. It's unpredictable. It's in theory, evergreen is more predictable, but the conversions are so low.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can marry the 2 of those. You can create automations that give you that predictability we're selling every day with, like you would theoretically be with Evergreen, but you create messaging and you create interactions with these potential customers that have that excitement and inspiration and breakthroughs that you see in a live launch. But you can do it all, build it all ahead of time. So it's all automated. And you get to focus on just sending people into it.
Okay. It's a little bit of both. I love it.
A little bit of both. A little bit the best of both. And I will say too, so we ended up calling it I ended up calling it the circuit sales system. And again, whether it's, mine or I'm sure there are, I don't know if there are other ones out there because I created it. So I guarantee there's nothing else out there exactly like this, but we called it a circuit sales system because you never give up on people. It's a closed circuit. So if they don't purchase, there's a fast action period. If they don't purchase during the fast action period, then you give them a regular sales period. If they don't purchase that during that regular sales period, okay, no problem. The sales email shut down because again, integrity is important. You can't have that like, oh, cart is closed. And you click through, you're like, no, cart isn't closed. I can see. So now I know I can order anytime as long as the tab is open.
Right.
That's no good. But then your sales emails will go silent for a while. You'll keep nurturing them, send your blog post, send your, podcast. And then after, a pre-prescribed period of time, maybe 90 days, then a sales period starts back up again, all automated, all created ahead of time, gives them another opportunity to purchase. If again, they don't purchase, then that's fine. They will go around in this loop, in the circuit. It's a closed circuit. They'll go around until, they might unsubscribe, in which case, fine, you weren't supposed to be here anyway.
Right.
But they will go around that loop until they purchase. So you get to focus on just getting them in there. And then you let the system do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned 90 days. So is that like from start to finish, if someone was to come in the funnel and work through the circuit, is it a 90-day thing? Or is it like, what are you saying as far as coming in to ppurchase?
90 days is the pause. We usually, when we teach it, we usually teach between 3 and 5 days for a fast action period.
Yeah.
Where there's a video that we create that, again, we kind of talked a little bit about breakthroughs instead of teaching to really catch them at that moment of inspiration and excitement. There's that fast action period. They don't purchase then. There are a couple of days just to overcome any additional objections, the most common objections. Then they enter into a sales period at the regular price. And then that's where they get the full information, all of that stuff. But if they don't purchase then, and people can choose how long they want in between sales periods, but do we do 90 days on all of the brands? I think we might be testing it on one of the brands, but then after that sales period ends, then it's 90 days until the next one, because they got the opportunity right away. But you know what? And a lot of people will purchase during that fast action, during that first sales sequence. A lot of people will. But if you structure it right, a lot of people will. But there are always going to be some people for whom it's just not the right time. For our copywriting course, we end up getting a lot of teachers in, and there are sometimes they might opt in and they're really, really interested, but it's October and they're just about to get, and it's just not the right time for them. That's fine. If it's just not the right time, then they will have more opportunities later.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we focus as business owners, the new people coming in, then we don't get so attached or offended when someone says it's just not the right time. It's not our job to convince people when the right time is for them. That's their personal decision. It's just our job to kind of get it out there to them, and then they get to make that decision. And just knowing you've got people funneling in at all times. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about that. Like, is there a sales psychology to bringing them into the funnel?
It's so much. I think that is the easier part, quite frankly. That is the easier part, because you get to keep doing the things that you have been doing that have been working. It's just, instead of sending them to your ebook or sending them, the enticement is going to be a free video. And the free video is going to be very valuable. It's going to really open their eyes to a lot of things. But instead, you're going to send everybody to one main thing. Yeah. And if people are like, but I have an ebook that's amazing, and there are ways to incorporate that. Absolutely. If you have other freebies that people just love, great. Don't throw them away. There are ways to incorporate that. But you are going to focus people in toward taking one action. So instead of like, I have 8 different funnels going, or I have 8 different, focus them in. And again, it's going to be to keep doing the same thing. You'll keep posting on social, keep guesting on podcasts, keep doing all of the stuff that you've been doing, but you get to focus in on just getting them in the same way. And the same thing with ads. If you want to run ads, if that's something that you want to do, you can drive ads toward people opting in for that video. I will say too, that as someone who runs a lot of ads, spends a lot of money on ads, it's a lot easier to optimize those ads if that's something that people are interested in. It's a lot easier to optimize those ads when they are continually running versus like, oh, I have a month and I have to run a bunch of ads for my launch or something along those lines. And when you can see a direct a direct correlation between ads and sales. That can be a problem with ads too when you do launches a few months out, where you're like, oh, I want to run ads for my ebook. And then I've got people on my list. But the longer people are on your list before you offer them something, your main offer, the longer they're on your list, the staler they get. And it happens so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just such a great reminder. Like even what you said in the very beginning about like when they're the most excited, like why do we make them wait when they're the most excited?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's again, it comes back to there's so much bad advice out there. It's not our fault. But there's a metaphor that people have probably heard that offering them something to purchase right away is tantamount to going up to a cute guy in a bar and being like, hey, we've never met. Do you want to get married? And of course, we immediately all go like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to be that pushy. But that's not true at all. Because first of all, they got on our list or they followed us, which means that if we really want to play with that metaphor, it would be us sitting at the bar and somebody else coming up to us and being like, hey, what do you have to offer?
Right.
Also, like people, thank goodness, people purchasing from us is not the same as marriage. It's not the same level of commitment as marriage.
Right.
Also, we're offering them something, we're offering them a solution to something that they want. So this idea that we have to get people on us and then nurture them. I've heard so many podcasts where people are like, well, the first email I send out is talking about me and how I got into it. And then I tell about, that can be important. Like a little bit of that is important, but nobody gets on our lists because they're really fascinated about our lives. Right. Like nobody's like, I really wonder how she got into this. No, everybody is most concerned about themselves.
How can you help me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what am I going to get out of this? How can you help me? How can you help transform my life in big ways or in small ways? So the more that we bury that because maybe we got bad advice or maybe we're a little shy about selling, either way, either or both, the more that we do that, the more we decrease the chances of them purchasing, the more we also do a disservice to people who got on our email list because they want what we have to offer.
Yeah.
But instead of giving it to them in a very strategic, supportive way, because you can nurture and sell at the same time, instead of giving them the option to purchase, I mean, obviously don't just throw them on a sales page, but presenting it in a very effective way, we go, oh, I'm so glad you're excited. Welcome to the list. I'm just going to send you a bunch of emails. And then they're like, why didn't people purchase? Oh, I'll tell you exactly why.
So interesting. It is so very different than what you hear people teach. And I mean, I've been in the industry for a really long time and it's just a different perspective. So my brain is just like rolling, but it makes so much sense, And
the teach, which is what we've all been taught to do. And it makes, and we're all like, okay, great, I can do that because we're creators, right? The things that we created, we're like, great, I can teach. Teaching is not the same as selling. It's not the same as marketing. It's two very different things. Teaching obviously absolutely has a place, but the place is for after we purchase, because here's the thing. Learning is a fundamentally energy draining experience. So when we take someone who is at that peak of excitement and we're like, great, hop on, maybe it's one of those pre-recorded webinars, hop on this webinar, and then we teach at them for a half hour or 45 minutes, what we're doing is we're taking that excitement and we're manually pulling it down. I mean, we think back to like high school. Maybe we like to think of ourselves as being much better students, but like very few of us were like, oh, I can't wait to get in to learn today. Even as business owners. And Martina, I'm going to guess you've done the same thing that I do all the time because I'm constantly consuming courses, just to see what's out there.
Right.
I get a course and then I'm like, yeah, great, I got the course. And then I forget that I have to actually go through the course. Oh, yeah. Because that's like, if I purchase something, I have to put it on my calendar to go through. And I go, I'm going to sit down and watch this video. Because learning is energy draining. On top of the fact that, this idea of like, we'll give them a little win. Great. When we give them little wins or we have half of the people get that little win that go, great, I've got this little win. Okay, I'm gonna have to focus on this little win now because I sat through your video. I gave my time to you. So I'm gonna focus on making the most of this little win. And then maybe I'll come back and buy your bigger thing, which most of them don't. And then you have the other side who are like, oh, I've got this little one. I totally understand. Thank you for your free video. I understand. I understand how you got to this. So you know what? I bet I can figure out how to get to that big win. And then they don't purchase either. On top of the fact that we sucked the excitement out of the whole experience. We sucked it out by teaching to them for a half hour or 45 minutes. Instead of teaching, and from the outside, it can look a little bit different until you understand how it's built differently. But instead of teaching them, we give them breakthroughs. We show them why all of the things that they've tried in the past haven't worked. And I'm oversimplifying it, obviously, but we show them why all of the things that they have been told to do, what everybody says, you have to do this. We tell them why all that stuff doesn't work. So what we do is we not only validate their experience of the past, which is really good for making an emotional connection with them, but we validate their experience and we help them understand why it didn't work, which also not only we call it a paradigm shift, but it's a light bulb of going, oh, wait, that's why it didn't work. They're listening a little bit closer. And then you tell them what does work and why it works. And then they go, oh, I get it. And there are a couple of things you'll also do to support that. But when you do that, when it's very clear, like everybody says to do this and you did that, and it's not your fault that it didn't work because it doesn't work for XYZ reason. But what does work, and here's why it works, it's a light bulb on in their head. They are more interested to hear more and continue with all of your marketing information. And also now they are invested in you. They want to hear more about you. You are becoming an expert in their eyes.
Right.
That's what we do instead of teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. So good. So are you finding that this works primarily for people who are course creators, or do you see this same concept for, one-on-one service providers and other industries? Yeah,
we do have, we have all kinds of different industries in our student group. We do have one-on-one providers. The only thing I will say is that one-on-one providers just have to keep kind of a closer eye on their circuit, because there's only a certain amount of appointments they can take, right? If they flip on their circuit and they're sending people through, and all of a sudden they go, oh, people are getting to a page that says you can't book anything out, or you could overbook your schedule. So you just need to keep an eye on it a little bit closer. But we also have students that do live cohorts. And people have said, well, my program is live. Can I sell automatically? Can I sell every day if I only run my program a couple of times? Yeah, absolutely. Because then you sell for this next cohort. And once that fills up, then you start selling for the next one. But instead of trying to sell for, the month, if you have a cohort that opens in April, instead of trying to sell all that out in March, you could be selling September through March for April, and then or when April fills, then you start selling for the next one. So there's some flexibility that can be built into it.
Right. Fascinating. So shift gears a little bit more to personal. Well, it's professional and personal, but we did touch a little bit on burnout in the very beginning. But I always like to ask my guests, if you experienced burnout, how did it show itself for you? And then what were some practical things you did to kind of work your way out of it?
Yes. I mean, I told you about my bread store fantasies. People don't fantasize about bread stores if they're not a little bit stressed out. Just,
so
yes.
funny.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, here's the things. We're all perpetually I don't want to burn out and I don't want to burn out. And then we end up, I just think it's the best. Maybe not the best for me. I think the best that I can do is just start to notice when it creeps up a little bit. It's so funny because so much of my business is automated, right? The sales is automated, but there are always tasks that if there's a time vacuum, there's always stuff to fill it in. So sometimes people will say, Nicki, all of your sales are automated. What do you do with your time? Oh, yeah. Imagine if you had 2 more hours in your day, you would fill it.
Oh,
you would fill it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I notice my personal thing is I notice when I start to say to myself, everybody wants a piece of me. It will be in my head for a little bit before I even notice I'm saying it to myself.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll go, oh, I know what's happening. I know what
Yeah.
this means now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need a break. And for me, the most effective thing that I can do, and I realize for moms, this is especially difficult, but I try to go away for 2 nights. 2 nights, just go to a hotel room, someplace that I've never been before, ideally, no TV, and just read and journal. And the first night, I always think, oh my God, what am I doing? This is such a waste of time. I should just be home instead. I could be getting so much stuff done around the house. It's not until the second day that I start to go, oh,
Yeah.
you know. And if you can't do it for 2 nights, do it for 1 night. Call the auntie in your life and say, I really need this. We will be there. If you have a good auntie, she will be there. She will, yes, she'll take the kids for ice cream. She's got the overnight. You're good. And if you can't do 1 night, then find an hour. Go. Don't go to Starbucks. There's too many people around. Go someplace where you can be quiet and don't watch TV. Don't do any of the stuff on your, just be with yourself for a little while. Again, ideally it's 2 nights. I realize for a lot of people, that's like, lovely. Sounds great. This woman clearly doesn't have kids. Yeah. Exactly. Like, 2 nights. How about 2 months? Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you would be surprised. It might be possible. I think sometimes, especially as women, we don't negotiate for ourselves very well, but I would encourage everybody to wonder, what if this were possible to take a couple of nights for myself, what would that look like? What would need to happen? You know, if you are married, if you have a partner, maybe your partner could take the kids for 1 night, maybe an auntie could take them for the second night. Just
be curious.
Open to the possibility. Exactly.
Yeah, be curious.
Exactly.
Be curious. I mean, we're resourceful as women. We're resourceful for everyone else, but we don't use that same resourcefulness for ourselves.
You will take care of everybody else before yourself. And the thing is that your business is built on you. Yeah. So if you go down, there goes your business, and there's going to be no one, as much as we love our partners, if we have them, they don't understand what's going on. You have to make yourself a priority. If not, sometimes during the day, I'm going to say it, the top priority, because your business relies on you. If you can't hold up the business, then you don't have a business. You have to it helps me to think of it in terms of being my number one asset in the business. Like if you had a separate asset and you knew that your business couldn't exist without this asset, that it was integral to your business, you would treat it like like kid gloves, like, oh, what can I do to make sure that this asset is okay? Well, guess what? That asset is you. Yeah. You have to take care of yourself. Yeah. Which is easier said than done, because clearly, again, I am the person who every once in a while will go, they all want a piece of me. They all want a piece.
But then we dial it back. It's like you said, just being aware. And it's not that you're never going to experience it again, but it's every time you start to catch it sooner. Yes. Right. And you're able to get a handle on it before you're like in a hospital bed somewhere, which I've had several guests on that was their burnout experience. And they're like, I had one client that said, when you're daydreaming about a hospital visit, just to get the break. I'm like, that is like, we're not daydreaming about slicing bread. This person is daydreaming about having a hospital visit because they just want a break from it all. Like those are all signs. If you're thinking any of those things, from one end of the spectrum or the other, like it's time to slow down and really give that attention, because it's screaming at you for a reason. And they've heard me say here on the podcast many times that you are your greatest asset, and your business, your marriage, your parenting, all of it is only as healthy as you are. So we have to protect our greatest asset, which is us, in the business, and as moms and as friends and daughters and all the roles that we play. So tell our listeners what you're most excited about right now in your business.
What am I most excited
in life
about right now? Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, in business, we have some new programs that are coming out. Actually, with across the brands, we have some new programs that are coming out that I know are going to have a big impact, big positive impact for all of our students. So I'm very excited about that. And then in life, my best friend and I just booked a trip, adults only. We're leaving her littles at home. Booked a trip to Napa for September. Very excited.
Fun. Yeah. So
Very
exciting.
excited.
So
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
So I know people are going to be wanting to find out more about you. So tell us, and we'll put the links in the show notes, but tell everyone just where's the best place to hang out with you or come learn more about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On social, you can find us at Circuit Sales System.
Okay.
And then if you want to dig in and kind of see what it actually looks like from the inside, go to circuitselling.com, www.circuitselling. 3 W's. It's 2024. I don't know. I lost my mind. It's the middle of the afternoon. I've lost the ability to speak. But circuitselling.com, and you can sign up for the video there and dig into it there. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. We could have talked for a whole nother hour about this topic, but I think you gave some people a fresh perspective to think about. And in all of it, like I could just feel your heart and passion. Just like when people have a problem and you have the solution, why do we want to make them wait? Why do we want to make them wait? Like, let's give them what they came for. And if you can think of it in that way, it's like, why wouldn't you always be offering it instead of keeping it to yourself or following some, rule or something that maybe someone else has shared with you before? When you think about it in that way, it's like, we should be selling every day. If you truly believe in your product and you really believe that you have the result for someone who's praying right now, probably for a solution, you have the answer, right? Like, why would we wait? Why wouldn't we just it's right here. All you gotta do is click a button. Yeah. You're one button away, one click away from, getting your result. So thank you for giving us that fresh perspective.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Awesome. All right, friends. Well, I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.